Hi, today we are talking about levels of questioning. That is our lesson for 7th grade ELA, and it is found in the first 9 weeks. We will also use this with our written and bone journal. The first question you might have is, where would I find this lesson? So let's quickly look through. And as we have signed into Canvas, you notice you have your cute little pencil, but we want to click on Files, just like this nice red note tells us to do. Don't click on the blue. Just click on the Files. We have all of our resources here and 6th through 10th grade curricula. But since we are interested in 7, we will click that. And it will load all 4 9 weeks for 7th grade ELA. We are interested in the first 9 weeks. And we have everything that we need here in the first 9 weeks. Every single lesson, every single resource. We are interested in this particular lesson, and it is number 7, Levels of Questioning. When I click it, the lesson itself pulls up individually. You'll notice these arrows. You can go forwards or backwards in the lessons this way if you so choose. You can also download, and this would be if you want a print version, or sometimes it's just easier to handle than using this particular way of access. It's just best if you download and have either a Word or PDF copy. So let's scroll a little bit. These are some instructions for you, a little bit of background on the lesson, things that you will need, types of assessment, and we scroll down to the lesson itself, something that you would hand out to students for them to use during this activity. There's level 1, level 2, and level 3. It's got a little bit of a brief background for each question, along with some examples that we will look next and investigate a little further. Let's look at level 1. We say a level 1 question is on the lines, and that just means that a student can physically point it. It can physically point to it in the passage or the text. It is something they could underline or highlight. These are just your basic DOK1 level questions. It's recall or remembering things. We want to think about our question stems, and the who, what, where, when. All of those are what we maybe call our newspaper questions. Just very basic. What's happening? Where are you? When did this happen? Who is involved? Looking at other question stems, we might see things like list or label, identify. Very low-level tasks, naming something, selecting, restating. Again, these are very easily found, and you might think of these as kindergarten questions, maybe. Now, there are a couple of examples for us here, like where is this region? And it has a very simple word for word answer. They can literally copy it word for word from the text. And then here's another one. What did the National Park Service begin? Very clearly where it is, what time period, and your answer is, again, very clear, very straightforward. These are probably the easiest questions to both write and answer. So let's look at, again, a level 2. These questions are more our open-ended types of questions that we might see on state assessments, or maybe on our tests or assessments that we give in the classroom. We say that a level 2 is between the lines. In other words, it's not something that can be copied verbatim, but it is something that a student is asked to make inferences or assumptions. And one of the key things here is the answer will cite evidence in the text. It might be something the student has to put together to make those interpretations. And let's look at some of the prompts. Comparison and contrast falls well under a level 2. Also examine and apply or make applications. Interpretation, of course, there's our inference, and analyze, explain. Very often we'll see an explain type of question. Distinguish between or among, to demonstrate something. Even sequencing, it allows people to put things together, a little more of a synthesis type activity. Also an extension, and describe conditions. And again, that compression of ideas, maybe taking something that is an entire page in length and compressing it and summarizing even. You have to make some type of interpretations to be able to summarize material so that the important things are discussed. And again, of course, our hows and why questions. Again, we have 2 examples here. Why was this fort no longer mentioned? Why is the excavation such a long process? This will be more than a basic question answer type situation like you would have with the level 1. This would be something that requires a bit more, probably a couple, 2 to 3 sentence answer, maybe even a paragraph for some things. Let's go to a level 3. And for a level 3, we say that it is beyond the lines. Our question prompts here, this is our evaluate and make predictions. Maybe an if-then statement. It is something that is more universal in meaning. And please note this, specific textual references are not included. Notice here, there is no evidence needed from the text to answer this question. I left this spot blank so that you would think about that. There is no evidence from the text needed to answer this type of level 3 question. We are asking them to generalize, to imagine, to make application. And here are some of our important parts here. How would you do something? What do you think? Discuss what would happen. So with a level 3, it is much more abstract and thematic in focus, and it leads to very rich discussions. So we want to allow our students those type of abilities to connect the text to their world, to their thought patterns. We want them to apply what they know and make this extension and connect this text with their world. It is a little bit me-centric. It is, but it is so thoughtful, and it allows them that rich task of thinking and adding their own opinions. So a couple of things for this level 3. We want to think about student opinions. And when I write with this, it's not great handwriting, so don't judge. So we want to think about opinions, their opinions. What do they think about this? What is their knowledge base? What can they add to this conversation or discussion? And I want to make a note that no evidence from the text is needed to answer this question. Let's clear that away. And so you might ask then, well, how do we teach this? How do we teach students levels of questioning? And maybe even why? Why do we want them to write questions? I just want my students to answer questions. I would be so happy if they would write them, maybe even in complete sentences and stuff. That would be great. Yes, it would. But you know, The thing about writing a question, if they can learn to write a question, then they can certainly know how to answer a question. So a lot of times in training, and this is an example from training here, this little picture, we often use sentence strips in training, and I so wish we could be doing that right now. It would be so much more fun and manipulative and all of that, kinesthetic learning and all of this. But we have these different levels posted on the wall, and you will want to do that in your own classroom. Probably somewhere you can add questions as you go through the year and you have those teachable moments. You could very quickly get groups or individual students or couples of students to write those levels of questioning to keep this fresh in their mind. So we have a level 1 and we have the level 2, and usually we just have the 1 sentence strip for level 1, and we have the 2 for level 2, and this whole kind of idea of between the lines there is kind of a play on that. And we of course have those little question prompts maybe there for them to help them know how to start these questions. And then our level 3s we have posted over to themselves because they're beyond the lines. Those are those extra, those thinking questions. So why do I have all of these little sticky notes? Well, what we generally do in training and what we do in the classroom is that we will have a text and we will get students to write level 1 questions, each group. You can do it individually or in groups, but generally groups are great here. Get them to write level 1 questions. Get them to write level 2 questions. Get them to write level 3 questions. Now you can do this several ways. One way would be get every single group to write a level 1 question. Get them to post all of their questions separate from this display. And then let each group go back and pick a question that they didn't write and go back and answer it. Once they answer it, then they can post it here. And then you can repeat the process with a level 2. Groups write a level 2, post it on the wall, and then another group will choose the question and answer it so that the group is practicing writing and answering in complete sentences. They will move on to a level 3. Well, what if the questions aren't written exactly correctly? What if it's really a level 2 and it's asking for evidence from the text? Well, that is where, as we're circulating and talking with our groups, we can help them maybe tweak the question and turn it into a level 2 or turn it into a level 3, whatever they need to do so that they're not pointing at other students going, this is the dumbest question ever. So we don't want any of that. But this is just a great teaching opportunity, and have them to do that a couple of times, maybe a little practice there. So they are practicing writing and answering. Now, we will use this activity quite a bit with our dialectical journals, and that will be the very next video. So stay tuned.